you got a question or a story to tell, from the smallest town to the big city belle, got a business dream you're hoping to start, or a question on elections and how to do your part. Now Bryan's here and he's ready to listen to the good people of Arkansas. The mission, he served the nation, now he's serving you for a stronger future and a vision that's new. Welcome to the Ready Room. Got a question? Let's talk it through. Welcome to the Ready Room, where your voice is heard and the people rule.
In every mission, there's a moment before the action begins. A place where warriors gather, gear up, and steel themselves for what's ahead. I'm Bryan Norris. Welcome to the Ready Room. All right. Well, team, welcome back to another episode of the Ready Room. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to share, like, tell your friends about it. And if you didn't get your questions in earlier this week, go ahead and post them in whatever platform you're using, and our resident Jamie will reach out to us and let us know what they are. This week, we got another fantastic guest for you. Very excited to welcome Kara. Kara grew up off-grid as part of a large homeschooling family of 9, where she learned resilience, resourcefulness, and the value of hard work from an early age. She went on to college to become a veterinary technician, and it was there where she met her husband. Together they built a life rooted in faith, family, and farming. While her husband was raised on a row crop farm, Kara pursued her own childhood dream of creating a family homestead. What started as simply supplementing the grocery bill has grown into a debt-free, sustainable business. Today, they raise cows, sheep, and chickens, and even provide raw milk to several families in their community, of which I am proudly one and grateful for. And in our conversation today, she's going to share lessons from growing up off-grid, homeschooling both as a child and now as a parent, and how being intentional can turn a dream of one income, self-sufficient home into reality. So I'm excited about this one. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Got a couple things I'd like to give you before we get started.
Okay.
All right. So first and foremost, I know you've been hanging out with Kelly, so you know I'm a coffee freak.
Yes.
So these were roasted today.
Oh, awesome.
These are single source beans, and these are from Peru. They're grown at extreme high elevation, which is supposed to mean it produces a better bean. Yeah. And these are roasted with a little bit of light roast. If you need help grinding these up before you take them home, we can knock that out for you.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Got another one. You're going to be the first guest that's going to get a shirt.
Oh, awesome.
And if that's not your size, that's a large. Okay. We can hook you up with a better one. So thanks for that. And
I like it.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yes.
So, yeah. And then last thing, one of the things I want to start out handing out to people as I go around to remind them who they are and where they come from, as it does me. You see, they're a little bit different in size, and this is my original one. In the Army, these are what's known as a green tab, and you can only get these if soldiers directly report it to you. And this goes way back. They've quit doing that since. And this is mine. I keep it in my notebook, and it's like a constant reminder of me that I'm the leader of my family. Decisions that I make have consequences, not just for me, but for other people. So it's like a constant reminder. I like to give them to people, share that story with them. Like, you're a leader in your family. You're a leader in your community. You're doing fantastic things. If you're reading a book, it can make a nice bookmark, but it's not much. It's just a piece of felt.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But it's got a long history.
And especially coming from a military-based family, I do treasure that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. hopefully we'll start something with that, you know. Because, you know, to me, leaders, anyone can be a leader. All it is stepping up and doing what needs to be done the right way, when it needs to be done, and not procrastinating and putting it off.
Absolutely.
And you did that with your family. You know, you wanted to make sure that your family was taken care of the right way. And so you set yourself up for success with sacrifices in order to do that.
And we're trying every single day.
And I've heard some of those sacrifices, but why don't you first, let's start off with your childhood and your upbringing, and maybe tell us about how you got to town sometimes on your horse and stuff, and just kind of tell us about that and where you're from.
Okay, well, I didn't actually ride the horse to town, but I did ride the horse to work for one of my first jobs. But growing up, you know, my dad was former military. He served in Vietnam, and when he got back, he wanted a quiet place. And the Ozark Mountains was where he wanted to settle, and he found himself a real quiet place at the end of 3 miles of rough road, and built a house off grid there, had the help of his brother for a little bit of that, and raised us. You know, he had that built, and I was there for my whole childhood. And we had the solar panels, we had the whole spring gravity
solar panels
fed.
Before solar panels were cool.
Yes, very much so. And let me tell you, like, that was actually one of my first lessons in the finite resources that we have.
Yeah.
Because we had a very small handful of solar panels. Like our refrigerator was propane powered.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
yes. So we had enough for the lights and a little bit of TV at night. And let's see here. They had the percolator, and they had hot water that was propane. So that was about all that it did. And the thing is if mom and dad were both gone to work and they left us teenagers home with the littles, and we decided we were going to play a little bit of Nintendo and they weren't supposed to know about it, well, the power would go off and tell on us. Because there was a very limited amount of electricity that those solar panels could pull from the sun.
Yeah.
So that was one of the very first lessons in that when it's gone, it's gone. Now, he had a backup generator at times, and sometimes we'd pull the van around and use the alternator to charge those panels.
That's pretty fantastic. So you figured that out, and you figured out early on that you had to work hard for the things that you had, and you had to appreciate and make things last, right? And you didn't take handouts from the government.
No, we started off on that, and very early on, you know, they were like, we're not doing that. Broke that generational thing there.
Yeah. Which I completely agree with. It is it's a generational hook, and it's a choice. I'm glad to see more people waking up to that. So obviously you had a love of animals because you go on to veterinary sciences. So what drove you into that?
I was one of those. I was the crazy horse girl. You know, the teenage girl that's all about the horses, needed the magazine, all the books. You know, every week we went to the library, and I got as many books as possible on, you know, Black Beauty and all those.
Yep.
And we got a horse when I was 10. That was actually mom's horse to start with, but I loved him. I was carrying 5-gallon buckets of water, because that's how we got water over to the animals. We had to carry it by bucket. Dang. And I was the one riding him, feeding him, and all that. And for my 16th birthday, she gave him to me because it was obvious how much I loved that horse. That's cool. So I knew pretty early on that I wanted to homeschool my family. I wanted to live out in the country, and that I wanted the animals.
You wanted to build on that generational wealth that your parents started when they got off the hook.
Yes.
With their family, right? Well, you know, in Arkansas, the largest employer beyond the state government is small businesses. And they account for over 90% of the employers across the state. When you guys decided to make that transition, what were some of the difficulties that you noticed? You know, maybe not necessarily like right now, we'll get into the regulatory stuff, but just overall starting a business, what was some of the difficulties that you guys encountered?
One of the first things was just how steep of a learning curve it really is. And especially working with livestock. I mean, those are living beings with their own minds, and we're trying to be good stewards of them. And there's a whole lot. My husband was row crop farmer, and that's what he knew. And He finally got excited when we were reading different resources on how to improve our pasture. And it said, a cattle farmer is really a grass farmer. And that got my husband. He's like, okay, now we're talking the language that he can understand.
Yeah.
Soil, grass, that's all very important.
And y'all do some regenerational type stuff too.
Yes, we do our best. Some years are better than others, but we try to rotationally graze. We do add in a little bit for the soil. We do some lime, pull soil samples. And
so you talked about the learning curve. One of the things that I want to bring to the Secretary of State's office is getting that resource to people, because there's a tons of resource and knowledge base, knowledge hub, right?
There is. If you've got to really know how to look for it.
Right, and it shouldn't be that way. So what I envision is an AI algorithm that is querying out to the internet, and when you're putting in your business information, your ideas, it's grabbing known source of truth, not spam or craziness out there, known vetted resources that are going to match up with what it is you're doing. So for example, if you're going through there and you're putting in that you're going to do a cattle farm, it'll bring up, are you aware of cattle markets in your area? Is it going to be for milking purposes? Is it going to be for butchering? What are your requirements for that? What resources are available to you? You're a female, so you could have had maybe some SBA minority business owner, female, woman-owned business, tax incentives, tax release, just querying out as much as possible to show you, and then you can make a choice.
Yeah, that would be very beneficial, just to have those resources, and pointing out that a lot of the state universities have studies done on best practices. And of course, real life is a little bit different than what they do in the lab, but that's a really good place to start.
I like that university piece. All right, because I know that brings up a good point, because I know the 4-H center here too, they will also do so. They'll test your soil for you.
Yes.
So, I mean, that could absolutely, before you go and start a cattle farm in your area, did you know that you can get soil samples tested and see what nutrients could be brought to help you out sooner rather than later?
Yes, and that's a really good place for people to start.
Right. And with a lot of new people coming to Arkansas from out of state, they may not know the area, they may not understand the climate, but they're wanting a homestead. Like I can't tell you how many people from Colorado, California, Washington State, up north that's just decided to sell everything and come down here and homestead.
Yes, and there's a whole climate change, different atmosphere and everything for them, and that would make it easier to transition into and have all those resources at hand.
I wonder if the universities would be interested in doing like a toolkit, like a package deal toolkit for homesteaders.
They might. It's been a minute since I've been on the University of Arkansas website, but a lot of them do have some pretty good links to resources.
But if you could have one source of truth at the Secretary of State's office that provides that for you when you're putting in your business, like it's right there, it pops right.
Yes, and if you're like, okay, I don't want to see everything about, the pigs and the chickens and the sheep, I want to see everything cattle.
Right.
Then that helps weed out all the other clutter and let you focus in on what you're needing to learn.
And what I envision it is very similar to something like ChatGPT or one of the other AIs that's text-based. So as you're going through, it's bringing up things for you, and then there's a comment section where you can fine-tune it there and say, is this helpful? Well, yes, but I want to see only cattle resources or whatever it was, and then it can refine it and give you that list and be an ongoing thing with you while you're working on your stuff.
Yes, I could see that being very beneficial because a lot of my research is I will spend all day researching a topic and I end up using maybe 10% of the information because I will read article upon article and then realize that it's either not relevant to me or that the person writing it did not actually understand what they were talking about.
Not applicable to you.
Yes, not applicable.
And that would because what spurred this for me is when I was leaving the military, I was given, because I was a senior, I was given what's called an executive level departure through the ASAP program that they have, whatever they call it now. And they had these people that came in for like a week straight, 5 days straight, and they just listed everything that was available to us. And my question was, that's all great, but how come not one of my soldiers throughout the last 20 years have ever mentioned anything about any of this stuff because they're not being told it. Like we're retiring. Mm-hmm.
And it's there at the exit. No.
It's at the exit, and that's great that it's available to us. And I'm certainly appreciative that those things are available to us. But what about the kids that are needing it a little bit more? Now, they focus so much on just the GI Bill for them.
They don't explain all the other resources available.
Stuff. And I've learned from dealing with some small business owners and stuff and things that I've been doing since getting out that there's a ton of resources that are available. If you're rural, if it's a woman-owned business, if you have kids, if you don't have kids, I mean, there's tons of stuff that can come to you.
Yeah, and having all that narrowed down would be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I know when I was going into college and just trying to look through all the vast possible scholarships, like that's a great search, trying to figure out what's applicable, what's not.
Well, the Secretary of State's also the chief record keeper of the state, meaning that they're supposed to keep a registry of all the laws and regulations and everything for the state and all the minutes and everything from other meetings. But it's not searchable very well. You have to be very specific right now when you go in and do a search query.
You pretty much have to know what it is you're looking for.
Pretty much. You need to know like a law number, the title of the law, or the date and time of the meeting and where the meeting was at to bring up whatever it is you're wanting to reference off of. So fine-tuning that to where it queries out and gives you a better, broader reach of what it is that you're looking for. And then, because, to me, they say ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I call BS on that. Is if you pass a law or a regulation and no one is aware of it, how's that fair?
Yeah, that's not.
That does no one any good. To me, that's a cop-out. No, your job is to make it known to the public of what the laws are so that we as responsible citizens cannot get in trouble, but you put the onus on us, just like you do taxes. We got to go in and Mother May I fill out every little thing with the IRS. And if we make one mistake in the 8,000 page rule book that you got, we could lose everything.
Right.
And you don't help us out. And then you got to tell us how much we owe you,
Yes.
at the end of the year. To me, it's backwards. And that's what I want to see some of that fixed. I'd like to see some analysis. Jared brought up a great idea too about a ranking system for businesses in the state. So for like you, kind of think of like Angie's List. It's a credible source that could be vetted by the state independently. And so you as a small business, when you start offering more stuff, you could get a AAA rating or whatever it is, right? And people could go in there and see that. And the more that catches, they know that's local. That's verified at the state. I think that would be good too.
I think that would be good if you could get that up off the ground.
Mm-hmm. It would take a while.
It would. I could see that'd be a large undertaking, but would be extremely helpful.
It would help, and the reason what brought that up is I've talked to a lot of people that's moving in, and there's a lot of migrant construction workers across the state now because of the population influx. Mm-hmm. And when you get into these county areas and you start doing some construction, and you don't go through someone that's licensed and bonded and all that stuff, and then they didn't really know what they were doing, and now your dream has become a nightmare.
Yes.
And that I hate, that breaks my heart. But freedom has consequences sometimes. Freedom can be ugly. And you chose to live out in the country. You wanted all that freedom. You wanted away from the permitting and all that stuff, which is great. And what I want to do, though, is give you the knowledge so that you can make the decision. If you still choose to go someone that's not licensed or vetted or bonded, well, that's your choice. But it was available to you. You
still have the freedom, but you also have a resource. And I've run into situations where I'm in a town that I'm not familiar with, and I'm looking for a specific business type. Mm-hmm. And I'm over there on Google Maps just trying to figure out the correct combination of words to find, the business I'm looking for.
The problem with a lot of those right now is they're in the business of generating money for that business, Google or whatever. Mm-hmm. So whatever business is paying them the most for advertising or whatever, that's what's going to come up first, not necessarily the best. So this would be a non-revenue based income stream for the state. So you should be getting just source of truth documents from residents of Arkansas that's had good interactions with these businesses or negative ones. And you don't have to worry about that being, who's paying us for it.
Yes.
It just is what it is.
That would be good.
Yeah, I think so. So we spoke a little bit earlier about this. I'm going to hit into this topic now. Why in the hell should the government have any say if I want to purchase a steak from you?
They really shouldn't. I mean, I need to be doing good business practices, and you need to know that you can trust that I am keeping everything safe and ethical. But they really shouldn't have a handhold in that.
My serious hang up with this is I know you. You know me. I know where you live. You know where I live. I know your kids. You know my kids. I trust you. But I can go to Aldi or Walmart or Whole Foods and purchase a steak. And by and large, that steak is probably from overseas.
Probably.
Right? And that's how they circumvent the USDA practices, because we don't send inspectors all over the world to inspect their butchering facilities. And so they are able to get around it because it's imported beef. But then they put all of these restrictions on you.
Yes.
Right down the road.
And I have an issue with imported beef. I mean, if we absolutely need it in our country, that's one thing, but we have the producers to do it. We need to be sourcing. We need to keep everything in our country first, and then whatever is excess needs to go out. And that's the business practice my husband and I started with. It is, we are feeding our family first, and then after a couple of years, we started having a little extra, and then we sell that.
And how many kids do you have?
4.
You have 4. And they're healthy as can be.
Yes.
I know, I see them. Just like mine too. And I think there's something to that.
Yes.
They're fit for their age. Their weight is right on point. Their growth is phenomenal. They're intelligent kids, and they're hardworking. They've got the energy to do it all. And you burn out a lot of that energy on the farm.
Absolutely.
Too. So, and I think more Americans could benefit from sourcing their meat right down the road from their neighbor. And first, you might pay a little bit more.
Yes, and then you don't quite have all of the health the benefits from the government. I can't think of the term right now, but so you have the real cost.
You don't have the USDA inspected label on it.
Yes,
that makes you feel good.
Yes, and you're not getting any. I'm not getting any help from the government to raise my cattle. So when I sell it to someone, they're getting the real price.
And that's how they kind of get you too, because if you don't follow all the rules, then they don't give you any subsidies.
Yes,
right?
Subsidies. That's what I was looking for.
But then you're dependent upon them.
Yes.
Right, and then you have to put things into your meat that make it not as good as it would have been before. I know you've seen some of that throughout other farmers and stuff. I know I've talked to them too. Like when they get kind of handcuffed and shackled. That happened to a big supplier to us, and they got out of the game because once they got it in the USDA chain, it was just not sustainable, and they kept requiring something else more for them.
Yes, once you start having to follow the regulations, and there's another one down the road and another one.
Could you talk to us? Are you familiar with the meat regulations a little bit?
Only a little bit.
So what do you know about it?
I know that right now, if I'm to sell you a beef, I raise it, I'm being ethical about it, and I take and deliver it to the butcher, and you purchase the half a beef or whole beef, and then at that point, it's yours, and then the butcher can butcher that. Beyond that, then you start having to have that USDA label to be able, if I wanted to sell cuts of meat, then I have to have a butcher that is inspected and which raise that butcher's fees. And he has to be inspected by the USDA for that.
It just makes it cost prohibitive.
It does.
For you and the consumer.
Yes. And whereas if I'm going to use a butcher, I can go in and I can look at their facility and say, hey, I'm good with that. You could go in and say, I don't really care for something about this facility. Is it okay if you haul that beef to this other one within a reasonable distance? And that is absolutely a thing that you now have, since you're purchasing it, you have that buying power, and you can say, I don't like that facility.
I could even come to you early on and say, I want that cow and I want it raised like this, or I want it fed this.
Yes.
And you could say, well, I don't really do grain feed, but I can do that for you in the last 6 months. I'll pump it full of that stuff for you if you like that taste, or grass fed all the way through.
Yes.
I mean, you got a lot of control over it.
You do. And if it's something that I say, well, I'm not set up for that, but I know this guy down the road. I think he'll be a better fit for you.
I think we'd be better off overall that way. I think you guys would benefit. I know, I believe it's Idaho. I don't know, Jamie, if you could search the interwebs and find out for me. There was a state recently that's trying to push out the USDA and FDA into their state in the meat, like just push them out completely.
Okay.
Because of this reason right here that we're talking about. It makes I get so fed up with the government just trying to control shit.
Yeah.
It just bothers me to the nth degree. I got to get permission to go fishing. I got to get permission to go hunting. I got to get permission to drive a vehicle. I got to pay you taxes for it. I got to pay you property taxes to live in my house. I got to get permission from you to build onto my house. I got to get permission to you if I want to change some certain stuff. It's just permission. Now I got to get permission for you, Mother, may I drink this raw milk or have this steak? That's not freedom.
Yeah. And we just now got permission to take it off the farm and straight to the customer instead of everybody having to come to the farm.
Well, our local senator, John Payton, was instrumental in that down at the Capitol for getting that passed.
And as a producer, I'm very thankful for that.
It's right. And there was a story that one of the legislatures was telling me, I can't remember who it was. I guess they owned a cattle farm or a dairy, and they brought in their milk. And they said out of the entire house, when they were voting on it, only like 2 people come and even tried to drink some.
Really?
They didn't trust it.
They didn't trust it. I have a friend that works at a college, and pretty much every year when the labs they would want to grow things. She'd be like, hey, can I get some eggs from you? Can I get some raw milk? And can I get some compost? Mm-hmm. And then she would compare those to the ones from the store. She'd go to some different stores and then do that as a class comparison. And pretty much without fail, my things ended up having a better standard of cleanliness.
Well, Joe Salatin, who wrote the book Everything I Want to Do is Illegal, the homesteader out from Virginia, Joe Salatin, Polyface Farms.
Yes, his book is on my list to be read.
It's a phenomenal book. You'll love it. He got hit up by them when he was first starting out. And he was butchering his chickens and other animals outside. And they said, there's no way this is cleaner. Well, they came in and did the microbiome testing, microbiological testing on where he was doing it. Yeah. He didn't even register. Whereas the USDA facility is allowed so many thousand microns per animal that comes through, and that's deemed okay. His didn't even register.
And he's outside, and
they still shut him down at first.
Right.
I mean, he finally
had to fight it.
Yeah, he finally got it opened back up. But what's your purpose for shutting him down if he doesn't even register? So you didn't like the results, so you went and shut him down. Jamie, did you get an answer?
Yeah, it's New Hampshire. There are not enough USDA inspected slaughterhouses in the state to accommodate smaller producers. So they're telling these small farmers that they have to schedule their inspections a year or 2 years out.
Oh, come on. So that's why they're trying to push them out?
Yeah, they're trying to change the regulations, get it where the government has less say in what small farmers can do.
Yeah. That would be really good, because that is one thing that I have seen. I've not run into it yet, but I have seen that the producers tend to be further. You have to ship your cattle even further to get to a USDA producer, and they start consolidating larger facilities further away.
The only thing the federal government does well is the military, and there for a while they were screwing that up. They're getting on the right track now from my buddies and stuff that's still in. But I always ask people too, I said, name to me a government agency or organization that's excelling consistently. No, they always just end up screwing up. Because in their nature, they just want to control it. And this is how it happens, and I know from dealing with them. It's in order to get promoted into that bureaucracy, in order to move up the ladder, you have to justify your position, right? And how do you justify your position? Well, you create new policies, you create new regulations, you do new enforcement. All of that, the second, third order effects is burden on us.
Yes.
But it makes their annual evals look really good.
They've got to stand out from the crowd, and instead it really should be, hey, I'm doing a great job, and that they're excelling in the job that they have.
Exactly.
And not adding continual burdens to us.
That's not the marker of success for civilians, GS employees. The marker of success is really, what new thing did you implement and what did you change, right? So if like a GS 14 or 15 can say they created a new program, right, and it's doing this, and they can make numbers say whatever they want to say, Well, everyone gets all excited and they're fantastic, right? But the downstream effects is like, well, now you got to fill out this paper. You got to comply with this regulation. You've got to give this kind of medicine. You got to use this kind of water source. You can only use this kind of feed. You know, it just keeps amplifying. And it's unsustainable. It's self-defeating.
Yes, and you need to be more back to the basics, the way that God created things.
Yeah. And you need your performance. And to me, the government should be a customer service organization. And so your performance eval should be based off of what your customer feels about you. Yes. Right? Not what you dreamed up on a sheet of paper. What are people out in the real world saying about you're doing? And they should fill out a survey. Send out a survey to people like, hey, this guy works on this. Give us some information about these changes. How's this job going? And compile that data. Find a way to compile that data, because that's the only marker of success to see if you're actually improving is what your customers impacted by it are.
Yes, and back to what you were saying about trying to find the laws. If you don't know the law, then how are you supposed to follow it? You get so much bureaucracy and rules that you can't even hardly follow everything. Yeah. And you get so focused in on following the things. It takes up so much of your time.
I got a good story on that one about the ridiculousness of it. When I was at Fort Campbell, I had a soldier that got a DUI. They gave him a DUI because he was asleep in the back seat of his car, but the keys were still in his pocket. And this was in Tennessee. And so when I went to the police station and picked him up, and they were telling me everything, I asked the question. I was like, what's the goal of DUIs and these laws? It's to reduce drunk drivers, correct? So the kid did the right thing. He did exactly what you're wanting him to do, but yet you still found him sleeping in his car in the parking lot of the bar and decided to drag him out and give him a DUI because he had access to operate the motor vehicle. That's what you're citing in here? I got a hard problem with that one, guys. But they stuck it to him.
Really?
Yeah. They kept it on him. So what do you want them to do? And that's how things get amplified and muddy it so much that they're not actually achieving the end result because they got so far off kilter. Like your success was you kept the drunk driver off the road. You achieved success.
Right. And if he is sleeping there, he's like, I had too many, don't need to be driving, then he is doing the right thing.
Yeah. And the same for you. Like if the rule says you can provide all the milk and meat you want to, but if somebody gets sick, that's on you. Here's the rules for what can happen to you if you do that. And you know them.
Yes.
Your end state, the reason why the USDA and the FDA is out there is to keep people from getting ill. Like the big milk thing that happened, I believe it was in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s, where they had all these listeria deaths and stuff up and down the eastern seaboard of people getting sick. And that's when, the pasteurization and all that stuff started coming in heavy. All that started just to keep people from getting sick.
Right.
Well, now we know and understand it a little bit more. So if you just make that your marker and then let people do their things, and that's your mark of success, and you now in Arkansas, where we can't even produce enough milk for our entire state and the people, we have to insource it. We don't have enough dairies for the state. And then all of a sudden we get 10,000 new dairies, but only 3 or 4 people get sick a year. Well, that's success.
Yes.
Because more people than that get sick from milk at the store that's contaminated from the pasteurization facilities.
Yes. And not to mention the lettuce and everything else. And that is one of those things that, yes, that burden should be on me if someone gets sick, but there should be testing to prove that it was, the milk and not all the hundreds of recalls on lettuce.
Absolutely. Absolutely true. And that brings up, I had a really good point that I was going to say about that, but I can't remember it right now. The reason why, I think the real reason why these things have gotten so out of control is because you can't afford the attorneys that it takes to figure all this stuff out. But you know who can? Walmart, H-E-B, Kroger, all these other major corporations. They have a room full of attorneys, and they lobby the legislature to pass all this craziness because they know it limits their competition, which is you.
Yes.
So it sets them up for success.
And I can absolutely understand more regulation. When you are mass producing something, you have a much larger risk for error and contamination.
Mass producing, though, when it comes to food stocks, brings in a whole nother level of concerns. Because if you get so focal pointed on that, now you're at a single point of failure for your entire food supply.
Yes. Well, we saw that with COVID. I think you guys were overseas when COVID first hit over here. Is that?
We were overseas.
Okay. Well, one of the things that really sticks with me as a mom of little kids was we heard that there was a chance they were going to quarantine everybody at their homes, and there was a rumor going around that we might be there for a month not being able to get to the grocery stores. And that started the mass panic. I'm sure you heard all the panic buying and everything, and the stores were empty. They only keep, I think it's 24 or 48 hours worth of stuff in any given store, give or take a little bit. And yes, everybody heard, oh, we're going to have a month at home. And they went out and bought up everything.
You can't blame them for that.
No.
If you amplify that, though, and you only have 5 meat producers, right now there's 5 major meat producers in the United States. So if you only have the 5, and let's say I'm a nefarious actor of China, and I want to come over with some bioweapons, which has happened and they've been confiscated at the airport, and I slip into just 3 of those. What is America's ability to feed itself now?
That's a major problem.
It's a huge problem, right? But if you have 30 million meat producers in the United States, that's decentralized. You don't have to worry about that problem as much. 1 or 2, 5, 10, 20 go out, they can suck that up easily.
Right.
You know?
And then if you do have a health issue on any given batch, then the problem, the supply can be spread out among the other producers.
Exactly. That's another really good point. So like, if there was an infection that went out and they butchered up a herd and they all got contaminated, well, you don't know what else is contaminated in that facility now. So you got to shut down operations there. And the ability to absorb that impact is very difficult now.
Yes.
Whereas as if it's decentralized, 1 or 2, 3, 5, 20 even, having that problem is not going to have ancillary effects across the nation to that extent.
Right.
To me, it's a national security issue. That's the way that I think of things. But
yeah, because our food supply is a lot more fragile than people realize.
right. It's a dangerous game we play, but
Yes.
that's the point of it. So would you say that the government, let's keep it to the state, serves you or hinders you in your efforts?
What is it supposed to? So it's supposed to serve me, but I would say the regulations hinder.
Okay.
I am not quite at a level that it affects me a lot.
But it still affects you.
But it
even though
does still affect me. And we are hoping to grow this into something that we can pass down to our children. And definitely at that level, there's going to be a lot more regulations in there.
Right. And that's what I want to see. You know, one of my platform things is creating generational wealth. So I want to see in Arkansas that when you get ready to hang up the keys, first of all, I want to see the Secretary of State's office. When you submit your business idea, I want you to tell us what your end state is. Is your end state to grow a business to sell? Because that looks different than if you want to grow a business to hand to your kids. Or if you want to just have a business and keep it until you're done and close it up and go away. All 3 of those have different end states and glide paths to success, right?
They do.
So we should be able to help you with that.
Yes. And I do see that, like, starting off, I will say that we have pivoted a couple of different times. So I could see a lot of times you start with one goal. And those that are starting a business for the concept of making money and supporting their family and supporting employees should definitely have a lot more solid business plan as well.
Right.
And so they would have a lot more answers to those questions. For us in our homesteading, we kind of worked through and we're like, okay, well, this species doesn't work for us. Let's shift over. And we learned, okay, this is working better. This isn't. Let's do more here. Let's add in. And so it has been an evolving process as we learn. And also as we go from the babies to kids that can drive the 4-wheeler out and they can go move the sheep and the cows by themselves.
And see, if you could build that knowledge base to where it was available to other people in similar styles, like a knowledge hub. So like one of the things I do for work, whenever I'm doing something that's new, the very first thing I do is start building a knowledge base. Lessons learned, how did we fix them? SOPs we created for it, what the end state looks like. And I create all that and I keep it forever and make it available to everyone so that in the future, when this change has to happen again, they have a source to go back to figure out. That could be very valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
I think if Arkansans were willing to buy into that and provide that information and keep a repository of it like that, I think it could be very valuable. I would like to see it.
Yes, and like you said, drawing a lot of knowledgeable people and their information into one source, and then being able to pull down from there what it is that you're looking to do.
Yeah, that could be something as simple as like social media pages that are ran and kept as a hub for people to just interact with and stuff like that.
I've learned so much through my social media pages, and sometimes you got to try a few different ones to figure out what's going to best suit the goal you're looking for. But I've learned more through the social media groups that I'm in than I have in my independent research. Because what you've got that farmer that's been doing it for 30 or 40 years, and they've got it down to science. They've already run through all the problems. And so then you say, well, hey, I'm looking into this. What's going to be the better choice? And they're like, hey, here's your 10 links.
There is nothing better than picking up from somebody that's made 30 years of mistakes and finally got success, and you just shortchanged 30 years of effort.
Absolutely. And if they're willing to share that knowledge, I'm absolutely going to be listening.
Yeah, that comes into generational wealth too, because there's wealth of knowledge and then there's tangible wealth and assets that you have. But what I want to see is when you get done and you're going to give it to your kids and your kids want it, it's there for them. And the government's not getting in the way of it.
Well, and they shouldn't be getting a chunk of it either.
No, they should not. To me, that's a way to... I had one of the legislatures in Little Rock tell me something that I thought was very telling. He said, you can't have a permanent upper class without a permanent lower class. And I was kind of dumbfounded when he said it. And I thought about it long and hard, and I was like, taxes make much more sense now. Because it's a lot harder to break out of a tax bracket when inflation goes up and they increase taxes. It keeps people at a certain level.
Makes sense.
And what's one of the biggest wealth generators for people? It's land. It's tangible assets on the property. Well, if you start instituting a death tax, right, you're negating that. You can't compound that interest in your family so that 2 and 3 generations later, your family is thriving.
Yeah.
Without any external support.
Yeah, and we should be able to do that. We should be able to, all the hard work that I'm putting in now, I should be teaching my children to be good stewards of that, and they compound that for their children and keep doing that. As long as the family is working hard, it should belong to the family, and the government should be protecting our assets and that right instead of taking away from it.
No, and to me, it seems like they're taking away.
Oh, absolutely.
Because all the regulatory requirements that you have for insurance on your tractors, insurance on your equipment, which, I mean, you should have insurance, right? But when the government mandates it, it creates an artificial marketplace that drives the prices up. And you're not operating, like Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations. And it's a very lengthy book. It's a very dry read. And this is from, I believe, the early 1700s or maybe the late 1600s, maybe before. I don't know. Jamie, if you want to get me that so that I don't look completely idiotic on it. Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations. But throughout the entirety of that book, it can be surmised. His economic principle could be surmised like this. What is the value of this? He asked that question in the book multiple times. And his answer is, the value is whatever anyone's willing to pay for it. Nothing more, nothing less. What you got, Jimmy?
1776.
Oh,
It's a good year.
it's a good year. All right. So he wrote that in 1776. I was off by 170 or 100 years. But the principles are solid. And any group that's followed that, right? But when you start getting government involved in that marketplace, it creates an artificial marketplace. And then the value isn't what you're willing to pay for this. It's what the government says you have to pay.
Yes.
To certain degrees. And it's not fair. And so you can't have an equilibrium. Because the insurance market would sort itself out If all of a sudden they put out their prices so high and people weren't being forced to buy them and nobody could afford them, what are they going to do?
Right.
Lower prices. Because that's the value of it. Whether you like it or not, it's whatever people are willing to pay for.
Yes.
You know? And that puts an extra burden on you guys.
Oh, absolutely. Because then you have to balance, like, okay, what is the cost to replace said item? What is the cost of the insurance? And I've run a lot of figures on this pretty much every year or every other year. I'm running through all the insurance costs. And it's like, okay, what do we cover? What don't we? What is the risk of that thing being damaged or dead or stolen? And then how does that offset on the insurance cost?
Yeah. What do you come up with mostly?
The ATVs and UTVs are high risk of being stolen. So the nice...
Really? Out there where you are?
We've had some, yes. Now, the ones that I have in my yard right now, I do not insure those. Now, the side-by-side that we used to have, I was like, okay, that one, I got it at a great deal, paid way less than it was worth. But if it were to be stolen, there was no way I could afford to replace that. So.
Was it eventually stolen?
It was not. My kid was a little hard on it, and I was like, I am selling this before they run out of parts. It was a bad year, and it was going to run out of parts if my kid kept breaking them. So.
Oh man.
Yes.
So he was behaving like a boy.
He was.
Well, you know.
He had to fix a couple of fences. Him and his brothers had to.
Oh, so he took out some. He was really hard on it.
He was really hard on it.
Guilty as charged too. I did some of that. I did a lot of it to my friend's dad stuff out on his farm. So
yes,
a little bit worse.
The same kid put a scratch in the side of my truck too. But that I would rather him have those lessons there on the farm instead of out on the highway. He's learning how to control those. He's about to be 9. So when he was doing all that, he was, a little bit younger. And just this last week, I had to haul a steer to the butcher, and I had to turn around and get the cow milked because it was an early haul, and I got to get that cow milked on time. So I stopped the trailer and truck. I turn the key off, and I say, hey, I need you to unhook this trailer and put the truck up. And I went to milk the cow. And so it's a gooseneck trailer, It's so he does everything. Make sure he unhooks the electrical cables, all the chains, gets that raised up and everything. Make sure he doesn't take out the tailgate. And the way I had parked it, he should have swung a little wider to avoid a panel there. And he put a little bit of scratch down the truck. But I was like, hey, it's a farm truck, and next time you've got to swing this thing wider. My
uncle called them beauty marks.
There we go.
Right. If your truck didn't have beauty marks on it, then you weren't. It wasn't a truck. It was a show vehicle.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm quite sure my truck's gonna have a lot of beauty marks in the coming years.
But that's phenomenal for him. I grew up that way too. I can't even remember what age I was when I was first driving. I know I wasn't tall enough to reach the pedals from the seat that I had to stand up and do it. Yeah. My uncle and stuff was sitting right in the passenger seat for me too, drinking. But that's another story. But I was doing it. Yeah. By the time I got on the road, it was normal.
And that's what I want. I want them to be so used to how the vehicle functions that when they finally get out on that highway with all the other drivers and everything that goes on with that the vehicle's not new to them.
You're teaching them right.
Yeah. There'll be old hats on that part.
Yeah. But they got to get permission first from the government before they can go out there on the road. Mother may I.
Absolutely.
So to me, all that stuff that you're saying is you're empowering your kids to take ownership and stewardship, which are two different things, of the things that's been given to them and entrusted to them. And our state motto is the people rule, regnant populace, right? But you got to be empowered to rule. When you look across the state now, most of the children are not being empowered. They're being coddled.
Right. And to me, that, for generational wealth, to me, that is a starting place. You empower your children, you teach them to be able to overcome obstacles and to always be able to get a job. If they get laid off, but they know how to go out and get another job. May not be glamorous, but it'll pay the bills. To me, that is the very first step of generational wealth, is teaching them to be capable. And then if we're able to gift them assets when we leave this earth, that's even better.
Yeah.
But it was put to me this way when we were looking at life insurance as a young couple, is that your earning power is very important. And that is the true value, the true monetary value that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could leave them a large sum of money if we ever got that. But that could be spent quickly. But if they can continue earning that, to me, that is the first step in true generational wealth.
It is. And you hit the nail on the head. Most kids that get an endowment or whatever the other one's called, I can't think of it right now, usually blow through that and end up broke. Mm-hmm. Right? Because they were never instructed on how to handle wealth. And so they spent it on frivolous things that didn't last. They had no earning potential because everything was given to them. They didn't work for anything. They didn't know how to work for anything.
Yeah, they didn't know how to.
They had no real skill set. And so once that money was gone and they didn't have that, they had nothing else to fall back on.
And then as an adult of whatever age, they've got to start back at basically where they should have been at 16, 17, 18.
Or they end up dreads of society, homeless, drug addicts, everything else. I mean, we see it all the time. So I definitely think you're onto something there with that one. And that's it's evident in your kids too. And Kel's done a great job with our kids as well too with that. Like you can tell they I mean, they're still kids, so they make mistakes and stuff too.
Absolutely.
But they're starting to get it the older they get. Like you can tell.
Yeah, things start clicking with them. And one of the lessons that I want them to know is, like I told you about the electricity and really understanding finite resources. We also had something very similar with water when I was a kid. At this point, we had a well and we could pump up to the water reservoir up on the mountain. We lived on the side of a mountain. So there wasn't much in the way of grass and stuff. It was all rock and some trees. But we had a water reservoir up on the side of the mountain. And at this point, we could gravity feed water to the horse. Well, I left that water running and I went off to play. I was, 12, 13, 14, something like that. I drained the whole reservoir. And so I was sick to my stomach. I'm waiting for Dad to get home. I'm like, oh, I have messed up. I've messed up so bad. I was like, I think I even had the switch ready. I was like, and like, he gets home and I tell him, I'm like near tears telling him. And I was like, how much is it going to cost on gas money for the generator to pump water back up this hill? Mm-hmm. And he looked at me, he said, that well only has so much water in it. We don't have more water. And then he let me stew in that. And like, that was a very important and heavy lesson. It was like, we had no more water until the next, I think we pumped twice a day. But yeah, we went from having several hundreds of gallons in the reservoir to nothing. Wow. And
so it was a cistern that would slowly regenerate from the
we had a spring, and we had some black line from the spring across the mountainside into the cistern. At the first one, we had it carved from rock and chinked in with some cement. And then I think at that time, we finally had 1,000-gallon, one of those big plastic tanks.
So you go in there and do all that, create nothing from something your family does. Mm-hmm. But then if you don't pay your taxes, you lose it all.
Yeah.
Which it drives me insane. Mm-hmm. So what are some things that you could see as the next Secretary of State getting out of your way? So one of the things that I want to do is day one, I want to hire, and I've already got the guy figured out, to come in and do like a Doe-style audit of the Secretary of State. And I'm going to tell him, I want you to find everything that is not legally passed by the legislature that I have to enforce or regulate or inform of. Business fees, business licenses, business registrations, do whatever, if anything there is. Find that and isolate it, because once those are vetted as not being codified by the legislature, it goes away.
Okay, that's good.
It goes completely away. I'm not even going to entertain it, because to me, I'm not a lawmaker. I'm not a law enforcer. So if you want the people of the state of Arkansas to do something as their representative, you need to codify it in law, and then you can go answer to them. You're not going to you're not going to ask me to do some policy or regulation to shortchange your responsibilities. Answer to your people, get it done if they want it done, and then we will follow the law. But if it's not a law, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And when you asked that question, before you even went into that, the first thing I was like, trim off the excess regulations. Like if it's redundant, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't need to be there.
There are a lot of redundancies that I've seen. And there's like multiple layers of the same thing going on. And it gets confusing. Are there any instances that you could highlight for me?
I'm not as familiar with the office as I should be. So I would say more as a generalization.
Okay. Your husband deal with that more?
We deal more with like ourselves and what directly affects us and the children, and focusing on a lot of our research is into livestock, children's health, family health, homeschooling.
But if you want to do more things, you're going to encounter more regulations.
Yes, and then
and that's kind of a hindrance for you for growing, isn't it? That's why you haven't done it so much, which is a problem across the state, because we need people to. I want you to start hiring people, if you could. That's more jobs.
Yeah.
But if your plateau is based on, all these regulations are looming up here once you step into that area, and so you're never going to step into it, then that's, to me, a solid case that the government is hindering growth instead of.
Yes, and there's a lot of business decisions I have to look at and like, okay, how is this going to affect the taxes? And how is this going to affect the laws? But especially like before I can consider purchasing anything, it's like, okay, is that going to go on the taxes for this year? Is it going to be set out over 5 or 7 years?
Right.
And how is that going to affect what we pay in or get back or anything?
So you hit on it earlier about now being able to provide milk at farmers markets and stuff.
Yes.
Would you like to see being able to sell it in local stores if they would carry it for you?
Yes, I would like to see it in the small health food stores and stuff. I'm sure there are people that want to provide directly to some of the larger stores. I do see issues with, as you start to scale things up, then you run into more issues with sanitation. You have bulk batches. There is a certain level that the sanitation gets easier than me with my 1 or 2 cows at a time. But once you have a bulk machine that you have dozens of cows going into, and then more than that, you do run into risks. Right. Like if I have a cow that contaminates a sample, I dump it.
But if say the local Aldi, like if they were good and wanted to sell your milk, and you kept your levels the way they were, and you could provide them with 100 gallons a month or whatever, would that be something that you'd want to see?
Yes, I would want to that freedom.
Yeah, I think consumers would want it too.
Oh, I think so. I think, and so many people, like one of the limiting factors we have is we are 30 minutes out of town.
Right.
There are customers that I have that they would not get raw milk if I didn't time that with my town trips. It's just prohibitive for them to drive out there every week.
Yep.
Especially because, a lot of them live on the other side of town.
But now you can deliver it to them.
Yes.
And they can come to the farmer's market and get it.
Yes. And, like currently I have to coordinate with them. And when I'm going to be in town, when they're going to be in town, we got to make a meetup. Whereas if people had the freedom of taking it to their local store, their local little health food store or whatever, and have that set up and have the refrigeration there.
Yeah.
And then people could, get it when they're coming off work.
And it's so much better.
It would allow a lot more people to access it.
It to me, I tell Kel all the time, like when I let the cream get all the way to the top and I grab it and I start drinking, it's like a dessert.
It really is.
It's freaking delicious. And when you make things with that, like especially in my coffee in the morning, it's just so much better. Kel's making a dessert or something with it. You can taste the difference of it too.
Yes. And I tend to reserve that. I'll draw it off for my coffee in the mornings. And, then the kids get the rest of it mixed in for what they drink. Right. As someone that produces, I've got milk cows and everything, but I don't drink just a glass of milk. I'm weird that way, but that cream in my coffee, I love it. Yeah,
it's delicious. But we're keeping that from people with unnecessary regulations.
Yes.
We're hampering the ability of the average person to have access to that nutrition.
Yes, and that's where a certain level of common sense and accountability comes into play on both parties. But we should have that freedom.
Living can kill you. But I'm a free grown man, supposedly. So if I make that choice, that's my choice. Get out of it. I don't need you. Get out of my off my plate, government. You know, I don't need you there. And guess what? Throughout the entirety of human history, up until just a couple hundred years ago, everybody was drinking raw milk.
Oh, yeah.
Straight from the cow, straight from the goat, straight from the sheep. And weren't that many issues because it was micro areas. You know, you weren't going to the store and purchasing milk that was dairied in California and you're in Arkansas.
Right.
You know, that's a new phenomenon that's going on. We got to get back to local sourced, local supplied, people that are honest, people that we can hold accountable.
Yes.
And know that you're accountable for it too. That there's risk in life.
There is.
You can't live risk free.
And people also need to be aware of the risk. People need to know where their food is coming from and know what the risks are associated with that.
Exactly. And I think we have a lot more risk and a lot more dangers in packaged food, packaged meat, processed stuff. I mean, if you just look at, if you do a snapshot, I say Walmart. If you go to Walmart and you just do a snapshot, you can't look at everybody that's in that store any point in time and say everything that we've been doing for the last 50, 60 years is working well.
I would
Because
agree.
what's your marker of success? Health, weight management, mental clarity, mental acuity, performance, less surgeries, mobility, right? What is everything that you witness when you go into a store like that? How many people is in wheelchairs? How many people are chronic obese? How many people are on diabetes medication? How many people can't think well because they're so fogged on stuff? And how much of that has to do with all the interventions that are prescribed to them throughout the course of their life over the last 50 to 60 years and all the processed foods that's been introduced into their diet that never used to exist?
And I'm sure you know that I'm a very big proponent that our health starts with our food. And if we had wholesome food, it would eliminate the vast majority of illnesses.
Well, who was the Hippocrates who said, you are what you eat? Let food be
And
thy
food is
medicine.
the best medicine.
Yeah. Well, it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm a good case in point of this. I've had 2 shoulder surgeries. First one was the left. I was in Germany. My wife was gone. And because she was gone, she wasn't cooking for me. So I was drinking crap, eating crap. Everything that I was eating was from a bag, box, or from a restaurant, and wasn't ingesting nutrition into myself in the fuel that it needed to heal itself. And because of that, 9 months it took before I was able to like really stretch this arm out. Now it's good. But then when I come home and I have this surgery done, Kel prescribed a regimen for me for 72 hours straight after, and then mapped out all these different things I was going to take and eat afterwards. And my recovery, I had the surgery June 3rd, and now I'm already almost as good. And it's what, 3.5 months later? I mean, and I was swimming just before 3 months of the surgery. Went and swam. To me, it was all nutrition based.
Yeah, and that's a very good point and proves that what we're putting into our bodies really does affect us, even if we don't think about it at the time.
And I think it starts first thing in the morning too.
No.
You know, do you slam junk food and everything else first thing in the morning, or are you drinking some good water? Getting
Want to be
some.
drinking some coffee? And
There you go. You got the good stuff now.
Yes, I do.
You'll be all right. Well, we've gone over an hour and the lights didn't go off, so we learned our lesson from last week on that one.
Constant improvement.
Constant improvement. We had a scare at the very beginning. We didn't have the right streaming stuff set up, and we didn't think we were going to get it, but we got it right on
Yes.
time. So I just want to leave with this. To me, you and my wife and other families like you are what I want to see in the state and in the nation. Independent people that are stewards of the environment, care about their families, and care about their neighbors. That's what you do. That's what you embody. We're beneficiaries of that. I mean, you take some pride in knowing that part of the health and welfare of my nation is coming, or my kids is coming straight from you. You know, we think of that. We're very grateful for what you provide for us. My wife says it all the time. She's like, if I was in California, do you know how difficult it would be to find this, or how expensive it would be, or what it would be? Like, we're so lucky, we're so fortunate, and we are. And I want to see more people benefit from that too. And I want to do what I can to help that. in the process. So I'll be leaning on you when I walk in that office door and
Okay.
reach out to you and see what we can come up with.
That sounds good to me.
Because I want to grab every quarter. I want to grab somebody from every county that's a small business owner or doing something out there and bring them all together and do a hot wash. What's going good? What's not? How can I help you?
Okay.
And there's my KPIs. If I'm serving the customer, there's my customers, right?
Yes.
So that's what I want to do. I want to thank you for being here, sharing your story with everybody, sharing what you do. I had a great time.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, the time flew by. So
It was good. Well, that was our pup. Well, another lesson learned. We got to close the dog door next time. I'll make a note of that real quick. But guys, I want to thank you for being here. If you're watching it later on, don't forget to share. Knowledge is not good when it's siloed. This was knowledge that was being handed out from Miss Kara, from a lifetime of lessons and things that she's learned along the way and doing stuff. You can definitely reach out to her. We'll if you have any questions for her, I'll ping her and we'll get some answers directly from her and post it back out to you. But don't keep it to yourself. Share it out to everyone and visit our website at bryannorris.org if you want to volunteer, if you want to help, you want to do anything. And other than that, we'll see you next Wednesday. We out.